Welcome into the Common Dad
Podcast. I quit.
Welcome into the Common Dad Podcast, Season 3. I am, of course, joined by my best friend, life partner.
Hey, there you go.
Andrew
Best friend.
Holland. How are you doing
The
on
best
this?
friend.
And my name's Justin. How are you doing, sir, on this fine Season 3?
It's a beautiful
Premiere.
afternoon, and
Hey,
as
cheers
always,
to Season 3.
cheers. Season. We made it. No one said. Everybody
made it.
said we wouldn't make it.
Well, and to be fair, we don't really know where we're at, but we are certainly here.
I don't know what
So
make it
that's
means,
something.
but we're still posting crap.
And I also don't know what a season is, but we made it all the way to Season 3, which seems pretty strong. We could start Season 4 tomorrow, just to...
Our seasons don't make any sense. Kind of like the television shows that most people watch.
What's the intro to Whose Line It Is anyway?
The points don't matter.
Yeah, none of it makes sense. It's kind of like that. But anyway, if you have been an avid listener for Season 1 and 2, we have absolutely
I don't think
nothing
there's anybody
for
that
you.
would have actually stayed through all of it.
Yeah, we've got nothing for you, but thank you anyway for enduring. If you have any suggestions, please, we're open to anything at this point, so we can make it to Season 4, which could be next month or in 3 years. I don't know. Haven't really decided yet. Thank you so much for listening to the Common Dad Podcast. We are so thankful to all of our listeners and followers, and we have heard you loud and clear. We would love to introduce our new line of Common Dad merch. Right down there at the link below, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got hats, we got travel mugs. If you want to see another item in the store, leave us a comment, let us know. We will get to work. Thank you again. Now, back to the show. Anyway, we're going to kick this off with talking about something horrible. And this is our pre-topic
Intro.
topic. And this is the intro. So we were kind of discussing this the other night, and we didn't want to go too far into it because it was such an exciting
Completely
topic.
hypothetical conversation. Not
100%
not a
hypothetical.
discussion makes it sound more official.
Yeah. This was not a
This
discussion.
was not an
was-
official discussion.
This was, we're playing video games at midnight, and we've run out of things to talk about, so let's throw this into the mix. So anyway, yeah, don't do this, what we're about to say, but how long, hypothetically, allegedly, do you think your children
No.
would survive?
Hypothetically, not allegedly. Hypothetically.
Right, yeah, you never mind. No alleged. How long do you think your children would survive in your home, 100% unsupervised, for a full 24 hours with no, I don't know what the word warm up is. You couldn't like prep your oldest child like for anything. You just show up, or they just wake up and then you're just not there. And
So
then they've got to just sort it out.
how long is this? How long they would survive, or is this would they survive for 24 hours? Because you said how long would they survive, and then you said 24 hours.
Well, I guess it's a two-parter. How long, or do you think they would make it 24 hours? If I'm asking the question to myself, the question is how long? 24 hours, I think, is out of the equation.
I
unfortunately.
think our oldest is fairly protective of his younger brother, and he's pretty darn smart when it comes to things. I mean, there's mornings where they wake up probably before they're supposed to, and we come upstairs and he's already made breakfast for him and his brother. I mean,
That's a
to the
good
point
sign.
where he's gotten bowls out of the cabinet and cereal and milk, and I mean, he's doing the whole thing. He knows how to do it, and he's 8. He just turned 8. So
Okay.
I think
your
ours would
youngest
actually
is,
do
and Max
pretty
is
well. Max is
Now,
4.
4, okay.
I think ours would actually do pretty well. I think ours would make it past the 24 hour, and I would challenge. They would make it probably several days.
Okay.
Cheating
That's
or
confident.
not, we actually posed this question to them at dinner today.
Did you really?
We did, or
How
maybe
was
it wasn't dinner. I forget. Yeah, I think it was dinner.
Did they ever at any point in time fear that this was going to become
No,
a
not one
reality?
bit. Not one
Okay.
bit.
Just
They
making
jumped
sure.
right on the
Why are
bandwagon.
you
They're like, all right,
asking
let's see
me?
what can we do.
What's the game
And the
plan?
first,
Okay.
I mean, they had it all planned out. They had breakfast and lunch all figured out, and then They actually said they were going to go to Costco and get pizza for dinner, using their iPads and
Sure.
using Google Maps to find Costco. And then they were going to take the money from their piggy bank to buy the pizza. They know that they know it's $10 for an entire pizza, and they know they would actually be able to feed themselves quite a bit with it. So they actually said that they would go to Costco for dinner if we were
Did
gone.
they have a
And they had a
game
plan for how to
get
pay for
Costco?
it. Yeah, sure, it's with Google Maps.
What's your is this
Google
gonna-
Maps.
Yeah. The Google
They would
Maps
use
will
Google
get you to
Maps and
I-95
Google where it is.
certainly.
Hey, it's $5.95. It's less deadly than
that's-
$95.
Man, I want to ask my kids now. That's interesting. I think
So I think they would make it several days. Because I mean, look, they came up with a way to get there and a way to pay for it.
right.
Now maybe they wouldn't actually make it there, but like the thought
Right.
process is there.
Sure. The plan
They can plan. Okay, I need to cover meals. I need to cover food. How are we
Right.
going to get things?
but
And
in
they
this
had a plan.
premise, they're not allowed to leave the house. So I think they would even be better off because if they can plan that, then they can plan
For sure.
some freaking cereal or something. Yeah. I agree. I think your kids would make it. I'm not so sure about mine. Now,
I hope they don't listen
In
to this
fair-
in 20 years.
well, yeah.
Maybe they
let's hope
should.
not. Maybe they should. I don't know.
Maybe that's how they'll
Maybe-
determine what home they put you in.
That's probably fair. Now, listen, children, if you are listening, you're still very young, and the reason I don't give you a lot of
Credit?
credits, I'm not giving you a high success. I'm not saying you couldn't do it. I'm saying, the problem is they got to take care of the baby, the 14-month-old. That's the
So the challenge is all of them have to make it then.
yeah. They all got to
If
make
even
it,
one
yeah.
dies, it's over.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they all got to make.
What about
it.
getting
All-
lost? If
all
one of
done
them
or
is
none-
lost,
all just
they're
Yeah,
not dead. They're just
Right.
lost somewhere.
They're in the
We
house.
haven't found them yet.
somewhere. We were playing hide and go seek. Somebody passed out. If you find them, they're probably fine, but you might want to hurry and find them. Yeah, I don't know. I think Elijah, my oldest, could navigate this pretty well. And I think he could take care of the little one enough. He's strong enough to like pick him up and move him around. So I think he'd be okay there. I think a plan.
Move
I think
them
a plan,
around down
Yeah,
the
you know, like-
stairs.
well, yeah, it could go really well or really badly. The wild card in this thing is my sweet dear middle child, who is in fact a wild card. And I don't know. Do you remember the movie Gremlins, where Gizmo is hiding in the AC vents with paint on his face like Rambo? He might take it that way and just turn on the other two completely, and then it becomes like a
Last man
like
standing.
like an indie horror film situation going on where they're being hunted in a 1,500 square foot house. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. It won't happen. Again, don't sue us. Don't take this idea. Don't think this is good to think about. But it is an idea. It's a good dinner topic for the children to get the old juices flowing, if you will. Or maybe it's a horrible thought altogether. You let us know in the comments.
I think we all know how that's going.
Listen, I would like to remind everybody, this is called The Common Dad. It's not called The Best Dad. It's none of those. It's The Common Dad. So if you're like, man, these guys are idiots, well, you're probably right.
You're the one that tuned in.
Yeah. Ooh, joke's on you, actually. So we're just making it. With all that being said, after we've insulted our loyal listeners, again, thank you so much for listening.
Are you looking for some good, clean bedtime stories for your kids to listen to? Check out our new YouTube channel, Storytime with the Common Dad. New stories are released every Monday.
Let's get to the actual topic at hand. That is actually kind of serious. Not kind of serious. It is very serious. And the more I thought about it today, the more I thought this might actually be the most important part of parenting. Maybe that's overstepping. I don't know. But we're talking about the importance of playtime. So just with that intro, like what comes to your mind when I say the importance of playtime for your kids?
I mean, certainly video games don't come to mind first. when I think playtime, I think creativity. I think playing outside, playground, yard, pickup game of basketball, baseball, imagination. Creating your own games. The floor is lava. We used to do almost like a floor is lava. We would try to like climb across our yard without touching the
Right.
ground, and we didn't call it the floor is lava, but it was the same concept. It's when I think of play, I think of that imagination and physical activity.
I agree, and we're both video game guys. We did an episode, a couple. I don't know how many. We avidly defend video games, but I agree. There's no video games are a substitute for actual play. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things you can do in video games, but yeah, for me, when I think play, I think outside imagination. Here's a baseball bat, a ball. There's no bases. Figure out your own game. Like it's pure.
Don't hurt yourselves. Don't kill your brother.
Right. Let's try not to go to the hospital.
Well, and social. I mean, every time our kids go outside in the neighborhood, there's other kids, and it's like it starts with one or two of them, and then there's two or three more, and then there's four more, and now there's a ton of kids running around the neighborhood on bikes or scooters, and they're playing some imagination game or whatnot, and they're going up and down the sidewalk, and they're outside and they're having fun, meeting other people that they don't interact with daily, building social skills, building hand-eye coordination, getting active, outside. It's all good.
I think the social aspect of that is really underrated for sure, because I don't know how this is how I parent when I'm watching my kids play. I'm not too hands-on as far as like if there's a little scuffle or if there's an argument. Like I'll watch from afar, but I kind of want to see how they handle
it.
Because I could easily step in and be like, "Hey guys, that's not nice. Let's not talk to each other like that," and it's fine. They're going to move on. But it almost feels like you're watching a real life experiment play out. You're throwing your kids into this social.
I wouldn't say it's an experiment, but it's a real life learning experience.
Happens.
The first time you do math, you don't know what you're doing, but you got to figure it out. First time your boss starts screaming at you, you don't know what to do, but you got to figure it out. So the first time you get into an argument or deal with a bully or have a encounter on the play, like you got to figure it out. So as long as you're there overseeing it and can step in if needed,
right?
It's important, I think, to just let them figure it out. I'm not saying you wait for them to get bullied,
right? Yeah,
pounded into the pavement before you step in, but it's certainly important to let them try to resolve the situation before you get involved.
And
you don't want to be a shelter, you want to.
Yes,
they need to grow and figure it out. You're not going to be there all the time.
I'm getting slightly off topic, but I think I told this story in season 1. Man, that was 2 seasons ago, where we were at the playground and there was a situation where essentially my oldest was in a position where he needed to defend my then youngest, but middle child, and he did.
There you go.
And it was like that doesn't happen in the house playing video games. That doesn't happen in the house when it's just family, because anybody who has more than one kid knows, for whatever reason, when the kids are in the house, they are combatant.
Yep.
Then when they get outside, it's and then they get outside and it's like, oh, now we're on a team.
Us against the world.
I've yet to figure that out, but it's the way it was with my dad and his brother. That's the way I was with my brothers. But that doesn't happen unless you get outside
and interact with others.
Play.
Yeah, go to playgrounds, go to the neighborhood. Do all kinds of stuff.
And I think it kind of unlocks stuff inside of kids that they didn't know, like they had. You can kind of see some
new experiences,
some leadership quality, like all of a sudden you see your kid like leading a pack of wild children across the playground, and you're like, oh, that's my little leader. I don't know what he's doing, but
leading them all off a cliff,
right? But he's he's in the front of the pack. I don't know what game they're playing. I hope it's nice, but now here's where it's maybe it's two different philosophies, but when you're playing a game, so I took the boys outside. I'll give you an example. I took the boys out, trying to get them going in football a little bit, trying to spark that fire, and it is slowly starting to burn. But I was like, hey, let's go outside and throw football. And he can't catch very well. He can throw pretty good so far. But he didn't really want to play. They didn't really want to play like football. I was like, oh, let's do some drills. Let's do some. And they were like,
put your own rules on it.
And then they were like, I don't want to play. And then I kind of came back and was like, here's the ball. Just run.
Yeah,
you know,
you come up with something and do it.
And then I just gave them the ball and I was like, what do you want to do? And then they were like, oh, let's play chase. And then we play quote unquote chase, but that's what football is chase. It's what it is. So I don't know, when you go to play a game, are you big on setting the boundaries? Because I think that's important too.
I try to.
Is it more about just getting
with
them
my
to have
youngest?
fun?
It's more just having fun. With my oldest, who's 8, I try to instill in him, here's how it's supposed to be done. Now you can do it however you want.
Yeah.
And I try to show him examples too. Like I'll try to do it myself. We were big baseball players growing up. My dad was a president of a baseball league when we were younger. All my brothers, myself, we were in baseball for years and years and years. We have tons of different drills we used to do growing up. And yeah, I've tried to do a few of those with him, and it all goes right over his head, and he just wants to grab a bat and grip it and rip it, as we used to call it. You grip the bat and you just go to town. There's not a whole lot of strategy in how he's holding the bat. Is he lining up his knuckles? Is he, we used to do turn, stride, rotate, squash the bug. There was a few different things we would do to kind of show you how the process was in swinging a bat. He doesn't care about any of that. He just wants he just wants to smack the crap out of that ball as hard as he can and see it go flying. And it's tough at times because it's like, if he does what you're telling him to do, the ball will go farther. Mm-hmm. He wants to hit that ball as far as he can. He wants to see that ball fly all the way to the fence.
Yes.
Well, if he follows what you're saying, that will happen.
More often.
It'll happen a lot easier, at least, than just trying to strong arm it and muscle it. But on the other hand, he doesn't have fun sitting there trying to do turn, stride, rotate and overthink it and all these different mechanical things where he becomes a robot almost immediately, and he's not having fun all of a sudden.
Right, and it's like they kind of have this attitude now of it's like, all right, now I'm just here and Dad's teaching me to do another thing that I don't really. They kind of get like their arms get limp and you're just doing it for them, like with their hands, and it's just like it.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, it's that, and they're just like, I'm here, whatever. Like, I am on the side of, at least right now at this age, let's just. Especially with sports, and I don't want this to be like a get your kid involved sports podcast, but when we're talking about play games in general, I want to just see if I can get you to fall in love with the game.
Right.
However you see it right now. And then naturally, as you continue to go out and play with other kids, like you're just going to start to play the game. Like I can remember as a little kid.
Let the coach do the coaching and you just encourage him to have fun.
Let that, but like also, I mean, I remember when we were little, when we would go out and play football, we played a game which I didn't know that the name of it was so horrible, and I certainly won't repeat it now. But the idea of the game was whoever had the ball, that person just got tackled, and then you would scoop the ball.
I think
up.
we all know the game you're talking.
We all. I had no idea.
Oh man,
I had
we have
no
all played
idea.
that game growing up.
Yeah, so it was that game, but like eventually, like. That was kind of my first taste of football. And my dad wasn't out there like stiff arm, spin, like it was just just go play. And then eventually you're
going to pick up a few
friends,
things and tricks and
now let's try actual football, and then you kind of go on. So yeah, I'm more of the let's just have fun with it, and then you'll want to do it more.
To like if you pay attention, you'll see what they're good at, or not even necessarily what they're good at, but what they want to do, what they're interested in.
Yes. They'll tell you with their body language, it feels
they'll tell you in real life. I mean, we've had conversations with Alex of like, what do you want to do? If we were to put you into something, Would you want to do baseball? Would you want to do soccer? Would you want to do tennis? Would you want to do football? Would you want to, like, what is it that you want to do? If you could pick one of them, what is it you want to do? And we'll have a conversation with him, and then we'll go out and we'll play a little bit. And he's like, I think I want to change my mind. I kind of want to do this other thing. But you have to pay attention to it and give him kind of the chance to explore what he's curious about and what he's interested in.
1,000%. Because at this age they don't even know what they like. It's kind of like you're just throwing stuff at the wall to see.
Go buy a cheap tennis racket and toss a tennis ball at him and see how he does.
Yeah,
go get a tennis ball and a baseball bat and just let him hit the ball. You can get like a baseball tee for dirt cheap nowadays too.
Yeah.
We go out to a park across the street and he sets it up and just hit the ball.
Yeah,
and then there's times that I'll go and I'll hit the ball and he'll run out and try to catch it.
I think, and I emphasize the I think part of this because we haven't got into the organized sports yet. But I remember growing up, and you can see it now. If you go to somebody else's game, again, my kids aren't that age, but you can see the coaches and the parents that are trying to teach the fundamentals of the game so early. And don't get me wrong, I think that's really important. But if your kid isn't having fun in whatever it is, they're just not going to want to do it next year.
They're going to drop out, yeah.
It doesn't even matter really how good they are. But then on the flip side is if your kid is in a sport, and again, this isn't all about sports. It's just kind of where the example leads itself.
That's play, but yeah.
It's play. Yeah, it's play. But if your kid is in a sport and they're not very good and maybe there's another kid that's a little bit better, don't be all upset that other kid might play some more because, again, most kids, I think, would rather win the game, play a little less, than play more and lose the game. Mm-hmm. Because it's not fun to lose. It sucks.
It's really not.
It is really not fun to lose, and that kind of maybe that leads us into our next topic is, I think play is maybe the best way to teach your kids how to win and the best way to teach them how to lose. If there's a better way, I don't know it. And that play could be anything. It could be a board game. It could be football. It could be basketball. It could be a race. We have conversations
with Alex regularly when he doesn't win at something that that's okay. Did you have fun? Trying to have fun out of sometimes you don't always win, but now you can use what you've learned and try to get better. And he's done that with video games even too. There was somebody that he used to play Mario Kart with. Mm-hmm. And they would always win. He could not beat them for the life of him. No, it actually was not me. But you do know the person. We'll keep that separate. He could not win. And he has made it a challenge to himself to get better and better and better. And he is playing harder and harder levels. Yes. And he's like, okay, next time I play this person, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him.
Rocky montage in his head as he's training.
It's a challenge now. And so it's actually worked. You have to play people who are better than you in order to get better. If you're always the best, you're never going to get better.
What a novel concept.
Yep. We've never heard that one before.
It's a cliche for a reason because it's true. You got to get beat down if you want to get better. Unfortunately, you're not gonna be top of the heap if you're constantly winning. And we're struggling.
Competition is good, man. It's good for you.
It builds so much. It can tear down your self-esteem, but then when you see your kid finally break through and get that win, then it was in their head. You could see it behind their little eyes. They're like, oh, it was all worth it. That was awesome. We're struggling big time right now with our middle child with trying to teach him, for example, a race. He'll be racing with his older brother, and he's not going to win. He's smaller. His legs just aren't, they're moving twice as fast. But guess what? Elijah's covering twice as much ground. It's just he's not going to do it, and he'll get defeated halfway through the race. and he'll just fall to his knees and start crying and he's cheating, and it's like, no, man, like
He's faster.
yeah, he's fat, like
The interesting thing
by the
is,
way, he's
I
gonna
bet
be
you,
faster. Like,
one day though, maybe when they're
oh yeah,
18 and 20 or what, like I bet you at some point he's going to be faster.
yes, exactly. But
It's amazing the way brothers develop, and some brothers are good at some things and not at other things, and you know, things change, and things like speed or hitting a ball or throwing a ball or catching a ball, it all changes, and at some point, you know, maybe he's going to be faster than Elijah. Like it could be, you know, nobody really knows where it's going to end up in 10 years.
correct.
But it could end up that he ends up faster. Maybe he starts running track, doing the 100-meter dash. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And I mean, it's not that crazy to, and I think it's usually the case that usually the younger brother turns out to be the better athlete, but that's because
competition.
you're constantly chasing your older brother.
Well, and you're
all the
chasing an
time.
age that you're not in.
Yes.
So it's like
exactly.
now you're competing with an age group that's above your own. It's the middle schooler playing at a high schooler level and the high schooler
Right.
playing at a collegiate level.
You
Because
don't care that you can
he
beat
is-
your classmates. You want to beat your brother.
Well, and he's probably always, like, his brother's probably always going to control the scenario. So his brother's going to be hanging, you know, Elijah's going to be hanging out with Elijah's friends who are all Elijah's age.
yes.
And now the younger brother has to go compete with that.
Mhm.
Everybody's older than him. Everybody's taller than him. Everybody's faster than him. And he has to find out a way to compete with that.
I got to figure it out. Exactly.
He's not competing with kids his own age, kids his own size, and kids his own speed. He's competing with kids who have 4 more years of experience than him. Like, yeah, he's going to
Yeah.
be the better athlete if he sticks with it.
Exactly. Now, I want to. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is, like, one thing that we do, though, is I feel like so this happened to me when I was younger. I got a little bit burned out in baseball because it was both of my older brothers and myself and years and years and years and years of playing it. And finally I got to a point where it was just like, I'm not doing this for me anymore. I'm like, I got burned out on it, and I don't want my kids to necessarily feel like they're doing something for somebody else. Certainly I'm not trying to push that on them, but one thing we try to do, so we go to this park across the street with both of our kids, and one thing, Alex always wants to take the baseball bat or the soccer ball, and he doesn't really want to go to the playground. He wants to go out into the field and do this structured thing that we're going to hit the ball and, you know, throw the ball, and we're going to play soccer. And we try to condition it of like, okay, we'll take the bat and we'll do a little bit of baseball, but we're going to go to the playground and you're just going to go play. Go meet some kids, go do something. There's no structure. You're going to go play, figure it out, use your imagination. There's zero structure. Then, after a little bit of time, we can go over to the open field, and if you want to do something specific with structure to it, we can do that too. I think it's important to, like, you can have too much of the focused play where it's like there's rules and there's boundaries and there's guidelines and there's out of bounds and inbounds, and you have to do it this way, and it's step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think you can have too much of that, especially at a young child's age, where I think it's really important to make sure that they have something that's just completely free and no structure, and just go run and jump and climb. And
Yes. I would even not push back on what you said, but because I think you, especially at the age our kids are seeing, some parents are starting to see like, holy crap, we might have something here, like a really good. You never know how big and strong and tall they're going to be, but this age you might be able to see like, man, this kid's really good at whatever. I think for some parents, not a lot, but I think for some parents it's hard to like reel that in. Like, I know for me, if one of my boys turns out to start to like really love football and really be good at it, I'm gonna have to constantly like push back on like, all right, but we're not only playing football. for everything you just said, because that burnout, even if they want to go,
it's crazy.
do it,
We go to the park
they're
and it's
gonna get burned out from it. Like,
I see these parents out there sometimes where it's like we go out to the park and there's these kids that are younger than Alex that are like almost Max's age, 4 and 5 years old. And they're out there with ropes and cones and they're running drills, football drills, soccer drills, all kinds of things. And like we'll be out there for an hour and we have a pretty big playground. It's got a ton of different play sets on it. It's actually a really kind of big area. The whole thing is fenced in, and so we let the kids just kind of run and play. And there's a sidewalk that goes around it. And Sarah and I will just walk in circles around the sidewalk, and we'll get steps in and walk. And we're old, so it's good to, walk a little bit. And we just walk these laps and let the kids play. And we'll be there for 30, 40, 50 minutes. And then we'll go over to the field, and we'll hit the ball, and we'll kick the ball, and we'll do some stuff. And it's like the entire time that poor 5-year-old is out there running suicides, running between the cones, doing, high steps with the ropes. And it's like, are you kidding me? This kid is like 5 years old.
Yeah.
And he's already like a 5-star recruit at a college level. Are you like, what, what are you doing to this kid's life? He's 5 years old and, he knows more drills than a high schooler does.
And there's going through high school sports the way I went through it. I had a sport every season, but it was a different sport every season. My dad, if I can embark some herald wisdom onto this podcast, my dad was very deliberate about like, okay, football season's over. Football season's done. Go do something else. Go find a different sport. And every season I was very excited to get into that next sport. I never felt that burnout. And I think if we can kind of go back into the play part, that's so important, especially with the younger kids. Like just just throw new stuff at them all the time, like, and see what they like. But I want to wrap this up a little bit to kind of look at the play from a kind of move away from the sports thing, which is hard for me to do because that's all I think about most of the time.
Well, especially that's what boys lean on.
Yeah, it's tough. By the way, I let my oldest tune in to. He woke up at like 10 o'clock and there was the NFL playoff game was on, and he was like, "Oh, can I watch?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can." And he stayed up till midnight, like watching it with me, and I knew that my wife wouldn't be happy with me, but I was like,
well, it helps when it's your team too. Like,
well, no, it wasn't that game because
okay.
Daddy was standing up cursing for the Bengals game. It was not that game. It was a different game. So one that I could like,
but it still matters.
It still matters, yeah. But he was like, he was tired, so he was like sitting down and like actually like asking questions, and it was like, all right, now we're going. But anyway, that was kind of a cool like dad moment. It was like it's the first time he stayed up with me late and like watched a football game, so that was kind of cool. But getting back to the play thing, I just think kind of like the sentimental side of just playing with your kids. I know for me, sometimes, not so much often because I've intentionally chosen a different career path to be more relaxed, to have more time. But before that, I would get home from work later and I would be physically tired, and I just didn't want to do it.
No energy for it.
No energy for it. And I remember sometimes when I would I'm exhausted, I don't have time to do it, but we're just going to do it. Like any parent who plays with their kids, you see their eyes light up. Like they love it.
They have so much fun with it. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You could be like, hey, you guys want to play marbles? Like it's 1915.
They're getting to spend time with dad. They don't care.
They don't care, man. Like it's so, and I don't know if you do, but I feel like sometimes like I like, no guys, not playtime. Like maybe I need to get better at like, I don't know. Cause I want to be structured. Right. But at the same time, like,
but that's where I say that unstructured stuff comes in too, where it's like you almost want to like let them pick, like, what do you want to do, and I'll follow along. And it's really hard to do because a lot of times they want to do stuff that
makes no sense.
It makes no sense, and you really just don't want to do it, especially when you're tired and it's work and it's this and there's stuff to do around the house and you gotta do errands and it's like, this is the last thing I want to do. But like for them, it's the coolest thing in the world when you say, yeah, let's do that.
Yep, exactly. And it would really suck. Well, it's inevitable. There's one day, and this is getting like super sentimental, but one day they'll get home from school and they're not going to want to play at all. Like they're not going to want to play with that. So it's like, all right, better enjoy this time while we've still got it. But I'll end on this note, and this was kind of a funny note. We busted out a junior version of Monopoly the other day that the boys got for Christmas, and I hadn't played that game in a long time. But it's an oddly competitive board game, and I don't know why, because it's all luck for the most part. There's some decision-making skills. And we're about halfway through this game of Monopoly, and my youngest with the wild competitive streak in him he just has it, man. He's done. He grabs his cards, what money he's got left, spikes it on the table. This game isn't fair, and just storms off. And like, buddy, anybody who's ever played Monopoly feels exactly what you're feeling. Like, I couldn't even be mad because I'm like, yeah, this game will do that. Will break a man, especially a small child. Like it's rough. Isn't there a board game called The Game of Life?
Life, yeah.
It's just called Life. And like you can have like a house, and then you pick up a card, and it's like, oh, you got hit by a tornado. And
I don't know if you have a house or not, but you get like a car, and there's people in the car, and at some point you get married, and then you have kids, and you're going through the game of life, and it starts with you're by yourself, but I think then you get married and kids, and it's been ages since I played it. And it's like these little cars with pegs that you slowly fill the car up.
Yeah, it's got like the Wheel of Fortune thing in the middle.
Yeah, there's a big wheel that you spin to tell you how far to go.
I need to bust that
game
out. It's been a long time. How dark does that game get? Do you like pull a card and it's like,
well, I'm sure it's
completely
different
in
2023 than it was in 1910 whenever it came out. I don't know. The one I want to play now is what was it? Mousetrap. I always found that one to be so much fun to set that whole thing up.
Coolest commercial ever for any board game. It looked awesome. Did you ever play it?
Yeah. No, we played it for sure.
I never got past the setup. Never. It was too intricate. I couldn't do it. Couldn't pull it off. Absolutely not. I was like, well, this is not for me. More of a Monopoly guy. More of a Yahtzee guy.
I mean, there was a lot of the Clue and other games that we used to play, but I remember Mousetrap specifically. There was this one my older brother had. I forget exactly what it was called. It was like this robot virus that would, take over the game, and you were playing against the robot.
I don't remember that at all. But Tetris?
No, not Tetris,
No.
But
I remember that. I think Battleship was my favorite of all time. But all right, before we just name video games for an hour, or board games for an hour.
Omega Virus. There it is. It was called. Called the Omega Virus.
Okay.
1992. There you go. And it had a little electric thing in the middle. It's on eBay right now for $150.
Jeez. We need to start hanging on to these games, man.
It's a 30-minute game.
Well,
I need to buy that game.
Well, thank you all for listening to the Season 3 premiere, or if you're across the pond in England, premiere, whatever. How's your tea?
If you're across the pond, you're wrong.
Thank you so much for listening to the Common Dad podcast. Do not forget to follow us on our, I can't say brand new anymore, but our newer YouTube channel, The Common Dad Podcast. There you will find, obviously, all the Common Dads. You will find other content of all sorts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, ring the bell. And, of course, we're on Instagram and Facebook where you can find all sorts of goodies. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome into Season 3. And we will see you next time.